Let's get started along with Django. So, what is Django? Django is your Python web development framework. Web development framework, which means that this web development framework is based on your Python language. And now we'll study the basics of Django, which actually involves a few installations. So let's just start with it. Pip install Django. This is the command that you run to start the Django project. So likewise, you'll start Django -admin start project. There's no space here. Start project. And you give your project name. For example, if you want to start with installation of any project in Django, you write pip install Django, and then you go with Django -admin start project, your project name, any name you can give, my app or something like that. So now let us get along. Once you run this Django command, what happens here is that once you run that in your CMD, which is your command prompt, you get a series of things. So like you write project name, any name you want, that it will give you the directory of project name, and then you always will have manage.py. So just as when you run this command in your command prompt terminal, before that, prior to which you should have your Python installed of any version, and you should also have your Django installed in your PC. So after that, if you run these commands, pip install Django and Django admin start project and your project, you will have actually the access to these things that I'm going to write right now. So once you write that, you will be getting along with the directory name, project name, any name, whatever you give. For example, if I give app or my project, my proj, you will have this only. And then you will have manage.py. With it, you will have your init function. Init is actually your Python function .py. Init.py is your Python function. Along with that, you will have your settings.py. Just as in when you run this, you will have all this installed in your folder. In your laptop folder, you will have this manage.py, settings.py, and so on, whatever I'm going to write here. So you have settings.py, manage.py, and then you can also get along with your urls.py, which can be. So just as when you run this command, you will have settings.py, manage.py, urls.py, vsgi. I'll let you know what exactly all these are. So for right now, let's just get along with what actually does happen. So just as when you write start project, you will have your manage.py, settings.py, urls.py, and vsgi and asgi. And let us get along with what actually these terminologies are. So before that, I want to tell you that these vsgi and asgi, these are server-side. It means it is based on server. So server side things. So what happens here is that when you happen to run the server, you make use of these functionalities. So I hope it's done. So first you write pip install Django, for which you add Django admin start project and you mention your project name, and for which once you run this command in your command prompt, will be targeted to all these files in whatever editor you're using. For example, VS Code in case of this time, or any editor if you want, again you make use of. So once you run this in your command prompt and you localize your folder, if you have saved it in desktop and something like that, you will have all these pop-ups coming on with your VS Code in your folder, and here you will be having to type your code, and where then in this point you will have your files being listed. So let's get along. So I'll be telling you what exactly manage.py, init.py, settings.py, urls, and vsgi and asgi are exactly. So let us get along with your manage.py first. So manage.py is like your head file. It is like your head, like somebody who is the leader, somebody who is your admin kind of thing. This is actually your manage.py. So what happens here in your manage.py is that it contains all your it can interact things that which you can use to interact with the project. So it contains everything. So whatever you make use to interact with your project, so everything, it is like a head directory. That is all I can say. And then let us go on to your settings.py. Settings.py, the name itself suggests that you have the settings, which is the settings configurations. So settings configurations in the sense that it contains entire of your databases, all your databases, whatever you listed in your models and all. So we'll get on with models, but it contains all your databases, it contains all your installed apps, whatever that will be inbuilt, or anything that will come in future, all that it will contain. And then you also have a middleware. So all these will be consisting, settings will be consist of these databases in a whole. In whole you will consist of database, and then it also contains install apps, and it also contains your middleware. And then you will have your urls.py. In your urls.py you will have the urls routing. So you know what routing actually means? Routing means to routing, you just by looking at this you will get to know that it's path. So routing is nothing but the path that you specify. So mostly this routing is used to connect your URLs with views. And let us not just get along with it. So first let's see. URLs is used for URL routing, which is nothing but the path setting thing. And then we also have our VSGI.py, and you also have your ASGI.py. So ASGI.py and VSGI.py both are your entry points for service. These are your service. So entry point for service, I can say entry point. So these both of these are your entry points for service. So